I'm sure you know him, and some of you maybe you know him or not. And he had a great presentation a few weeks back, and some of you miss it. And now I requested him, can you do it again? So he's gonna talk about his book. You know, his book is something that really, I guess, everybody needs it. It will help you to develop, to choose the right words, how to say it. And then I realized, you know, just one single word, it changed everything. You know, and I'm glad that I met this person here. And in fact, when I met him first, he's just like, you know, introducing lifewave. He has like, okay, all right, well, whatever. but he will tell his story what happened, and I was quite surprised. Like after when he had a pain, I didn't realize that he had really a pain. So I passed him, and then pain, you know, subsided, and that's the time that he believed. I think the first time I passed him, he didn't feel anything. So that's why I keep on telling. I never pass anymore. I only select, you know, because sometimes people ask, "Can I have some samples?" No, I don't give samples anymore. You have to buy, because if I give you sample, you might expect something that, you know, expecting that this will be a miracle patch, and it doesn't work that way. So I learn a lot on those patching, but I don't know if you are still patching. It's up to you. That's your decision. But if you just discuss it, if you explain well how our technology works, it's good enough, and then they'll let them, you know, buy it, you know, and see what will happen. We have a 30-day money back guarantee anyway, so nothing to lose. All right. So okay, today's Tuesday, right? Okay. Without further ado, I would like to call in our speaker, the author of Words Matter, Mr. Bud Ayers.
Hey Tito.
Hello, welcome.
I'm
So
excited.
I make your co-host, so you can, you know.
Yeah, let's check my hearing aids and such. Can you guys do me one favor? If for those of you who got your code breaker code, if you can see on my name it says on my name it says NKBA. Would you guys be so kind to just put that on your name, whatever your code is, so I can just take a quick look at who I'm dealing with today?
I think I forgot to add that.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm pretty flexible. I don't panic. I don't. I can. One of my philosophies in life is 10% what happens, 90% how you react to it. So I'm pretty fine with that. And the simple way to do it is just click on participants, and on your name, there's a 3 dots over there, and you can just click that and say rename, and then put your code into that. I would greatly appreciate it, because I want to show you guys something about that, and we could talk. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bud Ayers. I'm now guess I'm being known to be an author, but my original profession, or my current profession, is I teach ballroom dancing for a living. I teach it at a university, and one of the things about dancing is that I use it as an analogy for life, because dancing is kind of just like life. You have to take a risk. You have to make a fool out of yourself. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes it's very challenging, but if you want the results that you want to get, you're going to have to work hard at it. So that is one of the fun things I have when I'm coaching. All right, so let me get to my screen share. There I am, and there we go. Share. And then I have to go back and do that again. All right, so a little bit of history about me. Like I said, I teach ballroom dancing. I've also been a member of Toastmasters International, and I'm a former athlete. I was in the plastics industry for 12 years. I've done lots and lots of different things, but what my passion is I love teaching, and I love sharing the information I've learned to help people create better lives. Okay. Oops. So I'm working my way around the computer here. There you go. So I'll be talking about the importance of self-talk, and then I'm going to jump over to stop needing to and start wanting to, and then we'll get into the bank. By the way, Tito, you owe me $1. You said they need my book. They don't need my book. They gotta want my book.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever hang around me, you will never say that word again. Guarantee it. All right. So many of us. So how I got started writing the book, because I teach at university and I teach ballroom dancing. A lot of my students really don't care about what they're learning, or they take it as an easy grade. So I wanted to do something that they would be able to walk away with when they left school. And that was give them what I call some life lessons. And these life lessons include anything from, what they call my words of wisdom, where I talk about how your mindset is important, how your self-talk is really, really important. Many people do not pay attention to the power of self-talk. And since the only people that were going to get my talk were my students, I wanted to expand a little bit more, and I saw the opportunity to get a book written. So I took the opportunity, and here it is. So, if compassion was the motivating factor behind all our decisions, would our world be a completely different place? What do you say to yourself? Words have energy, power, with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. So let me ask you, how many of you actually think about what you say? What words you say? Do you pay attention to what comes out of your mouth, or do you just like to ramble on? So we're going to start with where your self-talk comes from. Okay? Your confidence comes from your self-talk. I'm good, I'm smart, I know what I'm doing. So let me ask you, how prevalent was name calling in your house? I can't see anybody's faces, so I'll just assume that a few of you acknowledge that. Okay? Name calling was not allowed in my house. We were not allowed to use the word stupid. We were not allowed to use the word dumb. It was just totally forbidden. It was as bad as a four-letter word. So I grew up in a home where I never heard those words. And then I came to the United States and I was blown away. How often they use it, not only in everyday language, but on TV, things of that nature. And I grew up with like, wow, there's just no respect out there, the way people talk to each other. My mother was quite clever in that she never talked down to us, per se. What she would say was, if I made a mistake or didn't do something right, she would say, well, that was a genius of you. So I never heard of anything dumb or stupid. I always heard the word genius. And she refers to me as her genius because every time I would come over, I would have to fix something and I have no idea. I would just touch it and it would get fixed. It's one of the weirdest phenomenons. So what kind of words did you hear when you were growing up? Did you hear positive words? Did you hear uplifting words? Or did you hear words that, oh, you're never going to do this? Why are you even trying? What's the point? So those types of things, and what you want to pay attention to is your vision of the world, how you see the world is created by the time you're 5 years old. Now imagine your 5-year-old self leading your entire life, because you've already come up with this idea, well, this is the way the world is, because those are the important times where you are being conditioned to think, or you are learning or growing. And by 5 years old, I did another training program, and they said that you probably hear about 20 negative words to one positive word. Okay, that's in a day. So imagine when you add all that up, that's about 10,000 words that you hear that are negative, and you probably get about 1,000 or 500. So negative self-talk is prevalent with a lot of people. Okay, and unfortunately, the majority of it comes from our parents, because they're the ones who are directing our life. Now, if you grew up with parents that didn't do that, congratulations. It's quite rare. Because, and I know that our parents come from love. They wanted us to do well, and they wanted to make sure we were good members of society. So the whole point was to keep us in line. So let me ask you, were you complimented or talked down to? Were you praised or ridiculed? These have long-term effects on how you see yourself and how you react to the world. Okay. So let's talk about some things that we are so used to hearing, but we realize are not true. For example, some old love songs. Some of you might even understand these lyrics. I'm going to make you love me. I'm going to make you happy. If this was true, and I'm going to get dark here a little bit, if this was true, we would never have any suicides. The reason why people commit suicide is because their self-talk, their negative self-talk, is much more powerful than their belief that they can handle these things. You know, it's also a sign that just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're happy. Because there's some underlying sequence that goes on there that you create that sabotages yourself. So this is a little bit about self-reflection and finding patterns in your life and wondering why isn't my life working? Okay? Happiness is an attitude, not a destination. How many of you realize that you can choose to be happy? Let me change my view here so I can see a little bit more. How many of you realize about that? That you can choose to be happy? Too many people say, I'll be happy when. And happy is not a destination. It is a journey. Okay? And I choose happiness practically every day because, you know, what's the point? I teach my students that it's not always easy to have a positive attitude, but it's very difficult to have a good day with a negative attitude. Have you ever thought about that? How many times have you had some simple action happen and the whole day is ruined and you can't get out of your attitude? I'll give you one of my favorite stories. My wife knows that I hate traffic. Anybody else out there hate traffic? I hate traffic with a passion. And we're going to Monterey. I live in California, and Monterey is an hour-and-a-half drive. And the thing that I've learned is that if you leave after 10 o'clock, traffic doubles. So a 1 hour drive, hour-and-a-half drive turns into 3 hours. And I told my wife, we're leaving at 10 o'clock. We good? Yeah, 10 o'clock. We didn't leave till 12 noon. I already felt my blood pressure rising because my first thought, I'm going to deal with a lot of traffic. About 20 minutes into the drive, I decided that, you know, this is a beautiful day. And it was. It was a gorgeous day. It was probably 75 degrees, no breeze. And the sky was clear. And I decided, you know what? I could get mad to this whole ride and destroy the whole entire day. So I just decided to let it go, play my music, and we have one of the best days ever. Okay? So what you say to yourself has an effect on how you live your life. You know? How many of you have heard this? Or one of my keys to happiness, let's put it that way. One of my keys to happiness is this. Stop judging others. Okay? I want you to think about something. What makes you angry? Or why do you get angry? Why do any of us get angry? Well, the reason why we get angry is we have a projection. We project into the world what we think the world should be. And when somebody doesn't meet our expectation, that's when you get angry. So think about how many times you've ruined your day because you got angry at somebody because you thought they should be a certain way. Now, if you take control of that and say, okay, they are who they are, that's just what it is, and you let them go, I guarantee you're going to be a lot happier because you're not holding on to things that, you know, really don't matter sometimes. My students know that I have a pet peeve, and it's a simple pet peeve. What I mean by that is I teach college students, and they have to line up a certain way every day when I do my lessons, when I teach my dance lessons. And once they rotate, which means they change partners, halfway through the semester, they still don't know which way to rotate. And we've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there's some days when I just get upset and say, look, you guys are the future of our country. If you can't remember how to line up from day to day, I don't know what's going on here. So it's a matter of paying attention to what you're doing. Do you just go through life, one day after another without self-reflecting? Or do you reflect and say, well, why am I not happy? What am I doing here? This is why your why is so important. Okay. By the way, you're free to ask any questions if you want. I'm more than happy to share that. So this is my own saying. Okay, by the way, can you guys see my screen? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So this is a saying I came up with. We used to think the world was flat. We were wrong. We used to think we couldn't fly. We were wrong. We used to think the sun revolved around the earth. We were wrong. We used to think we knew a lot about life. We were wrong. We used to think. Think about that. How many times have we been told the world is a certain way and we found out, no, it's not? Okay? There's a saying here. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Whoops, I lost my page. Where'd I go? Thinking is one of the hardest things for a man to do. That's why so few people do it. How many of you have heard of the book Think and Grow Rich? Yeah. And it's true. It's all in your mindset. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right. So many times, it's not life that gets in the way. It's our interpretation of life that gets in the way. The older you get, the more ingrained your world becomes. That's why we used to think, I hope I don't come across sexist, when a woman was in her 30s, she can't get married. Or if a guy's past 30, they're not going to get married because they're too set in their ways. Well, that's not necessarily true. If you want to change, you can change. You just have to be willing to. Okay. I'm going to jump over here. Now, the choices of words. I pay attention to how people talk because many times we like to fill the void. And so we start making noise. If you ever heard a person, they go, excuse me, there's a certain uneasiness when it's quiet. How many of you ever heard of George Carlin? Anybody? George Carlin is a very famous comedian, and I would recommend looking him up, except sometimes he can get pretty vulgar. However, if you ever just listen to how he speaks, very rarely will you catch him making a sound between words. As you notice when I'm speaking to you, I just remain quiet. I've learned how not to fill the void with noise. As a member of Toastmasters International, and for those who don't know what that is a nonprofit organization that teaches public speaking. And it was a group that I didn't want anything to do with because, number one, I never thought I would ever be public speaking. And here I am, leading a group. And they have what they call an ah counter. An ah counter is someone who listens to how you speak and mark every time you have a filler. So if you say, like, those are considered bad habits or fillers. And we would fine you 5 cents for every time you said it. Many of our conversations were no longer than 2 minutes as a way to keep the meeting going. One woman must find, now remember, we're fined a nickel, 5 cents for every time she had an or a like. She paid $1.35. Her speech was pretty much you know, and and it can get pretty annoying when you're listening to somebody. So that's something to pay attention to. So the choices of words, okay? This business is simple. If you really understand the words, this business is a piece of cake, okay? But this business is not easy. Too many times we use the word easy to represent simple. So here's the biggest difference. Here's the difference. And I teach this to my students. To graduate is really simple. Pass all your classes. To lose weight is really simple. Burn more calories than you eat. To be rich is simple. Make more than you spend, or spend less than you make. That's simple. And we all know it's not easy. Okay? So when you're talking about this business, make sure you use the word simple and not easy. Listen more, talk less. Ask lots of questions. So this is my favorite part. This is what I really wrote the book about. I actually wanted the book to be called this. But the publisher said, no, it makes it too simplified. We need to make it bigger. So I thought, okay. And that is need to versus want to. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. How many times you say the word need in your life and notice how it's not getting done? I'll use one. I need to pay taxes. I need to do my paperwork. Oh, I need to lose weight. I want you to feel or pay attention to how you feel when you say it. Do you feel empowered or do you feel weak? You feel weak. Yeah. And the reason for that is the word need subconsciously says you have no power. Okay? Think about this. You'll never see a poster, forget the needy, feed the greedy. Why do greedy people get? Because they want and they take. Now, I'm not condoning greed. Don't get me wrong. But the people who want something, their mindset is a little bit different. I want this, so I'm going to go after it. How many of you need to go to work versus how many of you want to go to work? I love going to work. When school is on break, I have a difficult time because, like, what do I want to do? I want to be out there teaching. So by paying attention to that, you can change your entire mindset or your attitude with life. Okay? When you're not accomplishing things, ask yourself, do you need to do it or you want to do it? And pretty much you're going to see you don't really want to do it. It's something, part of your life. I have to do these types of things. If you see there, if you need to, you won't. If you have to, you might. If you want to, you will. Okay? Pay attention to how many times you say the word need. If you want to have a conversation with me and say how many times you say it, I'll be happy to do it. You'll owe me $1 every time you say the word need. I could be rich. Really could be. How many of you needed to attend this meeting today? So is this making you think? Is this helpful? Are you starting to see the difference in why things aren't coming to you? It's a really simple word of choice. So there's two stories I like to tell. Whoops, went too far. The first one is this woman who was treating me for injuries. And she was, I don't want to say like a psychic healer, but someone who used energy. She was an energy healer. And we would have conversations, and she would always tell me, you know what I need? And I said, you don't need anything. What do you want? He goes, no, I need a man. You don't need a man. What do you want? Make a long story short, she said this to me for about 3 months. I finally got her to change her words. I said, what do you want? She says, I want a man to love me as much as he loves my child, or loves my child as much as he loves me. 6 months later, she found the guy and married him. Okay? Now, this is my favorite story, and my wife is sitting here looking at me as I tell this story. How I got my job at San Jose State was kind of funny. Number one, I didn't graduate college, but I've been a professional dancer for 15 years at the time, and they needed a substitute teacher. And they went through a whole bunch of people, and they said, oh, give it to Bud, he'll do anything. They offered this job to 2 other people. They didn't want it. Too much work. I got in there, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the students. I fell in love with the atmosphere. The energy was just fantastic. I come home, and I tell my wife, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. She said, good luck. I said, what do you mean? She said, this is an ivory tower. You'll never get in. I said, no, you don't understand. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Well, to make a long story short, I've been there 17 years. Got in without a degree. So, what I want you to pay attention to is how many times you stop yourself just because you're afraid. Okay? In my opinion, now this is an opinion, and I put it in a kind of a funny way so that you remember it. There's only 5 things in life that you need. Okay? And I put it in this order because if I put it in the actual order, it wouldn't make any sense. It spells flaws. F-L-A-W-S. Food, love, air, water, and sleep. If you need to sleep, you need to sleep. You need air. You need water. So in my opinion, things that you need are the things that stop you from dying. You need to eat. You need to sleep. And yes, you need love as well. I put clothing as optional because if you were in the right condition, you can literally live naked. We cover ourselves because it's just uncomfortable to be naked. But you really don't need clothes. That's a joke, by the way. Be a scary place if everybody was naked. All right. So, pay attention to your words. Pay attention to how many times you say that. Have somebody throw it back at you. The funny thing is, most people won't even catch it. I have an ear for it because I'm wanting to change people in how they talk. I had a girl that I talked to. I told her this thing, and within 1 minute she said need 6 times. I said, you wonder why you're not getting your results. You need to do everything. Okay? I challenge you. Write it down. Put a week. Give yourself a week. Ask yourself what in life you want and see how your body reacts to it. Because you'll notice if you really want it, it's not scary. But if you need to do it, it's scary. You don't feel powerful. That simple little language change changes everything. Okay? That's why in my book it says, change your words, change your life. Stop needing to and start wanting to. So what's my whole point of all this? Your self-talk is more important than your knowledge. I teach in a college. I educate my students. And I told them this. Your education is meaningless if you don't believe in yourself. Because you'll eventually sabotage yourself. What do you think? If you can unmute yourself for just a moment. There are 3 things that are the most important things in your life. What would you say they are? Anybody want to take it? What's that? All right, I'll give it to you. Your mindset, your habits, and your choices. And that's also in my book, by the way. Your mindset, your habits, and the choices. Poor mindset, you'll never get anywhere. You'll sabotage everything. Poor habits, you'll never get anywhere. Because you won't. Anytime somebody is successful in something, it's because they develop the habits. That's why it's called the 7 habits of highly effective people. We have been conditioned to think that our knowledge is the most important thing. Your knowledge is simply a tool. If you don't use it, it's worthless. When my kids are, talking about degrees, nobody tells them this. When you go look for a job, there are going to be 20 other people that have the same degree. What's going to make you stick out? They've been told, oh, get a degree. Great. They've got a degree. It's like Oprah Winfrey. You've got a degree. You've got a degree. What are you going to do with it? What makes you stick out? There was a person who, well, not a person. There was a job opening here in San Francisco. One opening for an internship. Anybody want to take a guess how many people applied? One position. 1,500 people. Yeah, 1,500 people applied for one position. And I said, okay, who do you think got the job? I have no idea who got the job. But think about that. They don't think about how many people they're up against and what everybody else does. So what makes you different is your mindset, your habits, and your choices. Here's how choices can destroy you. There are some mistakes you cannot make twice. Okay? Failing is okay. It depends on what the failure is and whether or not you learn from that failure. So here's a story that I tell where I talk about how one choice ruins somebody's life. And this, you can look it up in the news. It happened in Vegas. There was a girl who was 2 weeks away from graduating. She was going to be a nurse. Her life was exciting and ready to go. She decided to party in Vegas. She partied a little too hard, got drunk, and ended up killing 2 people by running them over. That one choice destroyed her entire life. Okay? Her education didn't matter. Her mindset didn't matter. That one choice to celebrate, to go overboard, cost her entire life. The sad thing was she didn't even know she killed those 2 people. She kept telling the cop, when can I get my car back? I got to go back to school. So your choices have a great effect on your life. Going on a date, doing something. Okay? It's not, oh, we're so focused on what we know. It's not what we know, it's what we do. Because if you have a knife and you misuse it, that knife's going to cut you. It has a purpose, it's to cut. But if you use it wrong, it's going to cut you. So think of education, your knowledge, as a tool. It all depends on how you use it. So we talked about your mindset. Notice that you'll never see a book on the books I read to become a millionaire. It's always the mindset, habits. Like I have a book here, The Millionaire Mindset. It's not the millionaire education. Okay? Your mindset, your habits, and your choices are going to carry you through your life if you pay attention to those 3 words. And I just did this morning. Be around people who remind you of your strength and not your weakness. You have to be your best friend. What you'll notice is that the reason why people do drugs is because they're trying to run away from their own mind. And guess what? You can't. So they need alcohol or drugs to get them to stop thinking the way they do. So be around people who find the best in you and who lift you up, as opposed to always say you can't do things. All right. Any questions? Any guys getting something out of this?
You're doing good.
Good. All right. So I'm going to jump over to another thing which I really love talking about, and it's called bank. So none of you changed the words in your thing? Okay. So bank is a scientific study on people's buying habits. And what they've learned is if you match somebody else's value system, it's much easier for them to buy from you. I've heard Tito say this: people will buy from people they trust. Okay? So my question to you is, do you try to force your ideas on them, or do you try to be like them? So what I did here, I'm going to stop share for a moment. And I'm going to switch to another share. Which one is this? I think it's this one. Okay. All right. Now we got that. So when you guys filled out the form, that was a very simplified form. And what I do is I get a sales report like this. Can everybody see that? Yeah? It says KNBA. And what this tells me is this is the person's value system. I'm going to go over a whole bunch of them. You see KNBA, BKAN, AKBN, NKBA. All right? So each letter represents a value type. So let's start with this one, because these are the hardest sell. Just change my page here. All right, these are what we call blueprint people. And it says here, people with the BKN bank code are primarily predictable, disciplined, budget conscious, are logical and well informed, and they avoid taking risks. So when you find out someone's a BKAN, the last thing you want to do is be late. You don't want to be unprepared, and you don't want to be not presentable. People with a B or blueprint personality, what they value, I'll switch it down here. This is what they value: stability, structure, systems, planning, processes, predictability, responsibility, duty, rules, credentials, titles, and traditions. So when you're talking to a blueprint, it's going to be business. There's no niceties about it. They want to get straight to the point. They want to know, what's the reputation of your company? You better know the reputation of LifeWave. Do they have a system? Do I have to figure everything out? How is the planning? What's the process? How long has this company been around? They want to. These are people who do not like risk. So you want to come across talking about how stable we are, how the company's been around for 20 years, how all of the positive things, the credentials of David Schmidt. Those are the things that will help you sell to a blueprint. Now, the second personality, which you see is a K, the letter K, and that represents knowledge. Knowledge people, we'll go to that one. Knowledge people are logical, strategical, and analytical thinkers with hearts of gold who enjoy their sharing expertise. When you deal with the knowledge, you better be prepared to answer a lot of questions, because they want to know everything. So a knowledge person is someone usually who's like a scientist, a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, things of that nature. You want to come prepared, knowing your stuff and knowing they're going to ask a lot of questions. I think Jim will remember a time when I sat there laughing because he was prospecting somebody, and I already knew she was a knowledge, and she was asking all kinds of questions. I think it took us half an hour to answer all her questions. Okay? They will ask questions. They're the ones that are going to say, I want to think about it. So if you can show them that you're knowledgeable about something, about your product, they're more likely to buy. However, they're very, very cautious. They want to make sure everything is on the up and up. Excuse me a second. Now, if you notice, there's also 4 personality types. They got K, N, B, A. So this person here, a KN, would mean they value knowledge, but they're also nice people. So they're okay with a little bit of chit chat, but your main focus is on answering their questions. The third personality type, where you see here KNBA, this is what they go to when they're stressed. This is my stress point. When I'm stressed, I get very, very organized. I get very almost righteous. This is me. I'm an NKBA. NKBA are usually the nicest people. They're the people who are kind and thoughtful and innovative and logical minds, and they use their strength to support others. When you encounter an N, you don't want to talk about all the money you're going to make. You'll turn them off. You want to talk about how many people they're going to help, how it's going to help their community. Not everybody, we've all been told, if you've ever been in sales, features and benefits. Features and benefits are not true. That's the old way of selling. We didn't have the knowledge that we have now with how many different personality types there are. So make sure that when you are dealing with an N, that you talk about how many people you can help. Think about your uncle who was injured, getting rid of their pain. That's when they're going to get them excited. The problem with the N's is they're going to be the hardest ones to get motivated, unless they're really motivated in helping a lot of people. They're more concerned about being accepted than they are about succeeding. So, not to say that they can't succeed, because I'm an N, but it does take a little bit more because we are sensitive to how people accept us. And the last one, if you are an AKBN, okay. So people with AKBN are primarily movers, shakers, millionaire makers with logical, strategic, analytical minds, and are always driven to succeed. If you find an A, you pretty much just let them go. You say, this is what this business can do for you. You will win all kinds of awards, you'll get all kinds of recognition, and you can make all kinds of money. And they're going to say, I'm in. These are probably the easiest ones to sell because they like the attention, they like winning awards, they like making money, they like to look good. With an A, you do have to look, all of these people you do have to look good with, but A's are the most important. A's and B's, you really want to make yourself presentable. N's, they'll pretty much accept you any way you are. But A's and B's are very judgmental in your appearance, because A's believe, how can you be successful if you don't look successful? And so, how do you have access to them? So you can see all the information I get when I find out what somebody is. Okay? Oh, I didn't go back to the values. So let's go to, we did B. Let's go to A. So people who are action, their value freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, action, opportunity, excitement, attention, stimulation, competition, winning, fun, and image. So if you focus on how much fun this business is, how you can win prizes, how you can win a trip, all the attention you get when you win awards, the flexibility, that would be the easiest way to get them to buy. If you get into an N, okay, you talk about relationships, authenticity, be real with these people, personal growth, significance, teamwork, involvement, community, charity, ethics, harmony, morality, contribution. Notice that these nurturers, there's nothing finance. They don't worry about finance. They worry about how many people they can help or how it can help their community. They're involved with charity. Many nurses start with an N. If you look at that picture there, you can definitely tell she's an N or in the health field. They like teamwork. They like to be involved. So make sure you stress that. And the last one is the K. The K, their business mindset. They want to know everything. They serve others by solving problems. They often require approval, encouragement. They love to teach. So people in the knowledge are learning, intelligence, logic, self-mastery, technology, research and development. These are the people who like facts. Science, universal truth, expertise, competence, accuracy, and the big picture. So if you take a look at your code, because I'm sure you got one when you filled it out, that will tell you a lot about how you are and what you want to adjust with your personality. If you're an A personality, and you meet an N, you want to back off. You don't want to be too excited. You want to approach them as just regular people. Too much excitement gets them scary. That makes me uncomfortable. I have to change who I am. If you're a K, you got to be careful, and you're talking to an N, you flood them with too much information, and they get turned off. Okay, if you're an N, and you're talking to an A, you got to get more excited. Because the more excited you are, the more excited they'll be. You have to come out of your shell to really relate to these people. B's are the hardest one because they're so rules driven. There's very little emotion in what they do. And a B and an A will clash. So if you're a B person or someone who likes to follow rules and you're talking to someone who's an A personality type, you've got to come out of your shell. You've got to be a little excited. There's got to be some excitement in your voice. Okay? So if you're interested in any of this stuff, let me go back to stop share and go back to my presentation. I'll let you take a picture of this. Hold on, let's go back. How well does your prospect relate to you? So here's the bank code up on top. So someone who's a B likes reputation, system, tradition, titles, and rules. A, focus on the what's in it for me, the prestige, the accolades, the money. I say set them free because they'll just take the bull by the horns and go with it. An N, you want to focus on helping others, community, be nice. They love to be of service. And they do require a little bit of encouraging to get them out of your shell. Last but not least, a K, be ready with your facts. Be ready to verify everything. They want to think about it. They want to make sure they make the right decisions. Most health professionals are in this business and they ask lots of questions. So if you're interested in finding out a little more training on this, because this is a very quick overview. I went through a 3-day training seminar. Go to my website here, if you take a look at that, codebreaker.com, and you can get a subscription to find out how you can learn all these different things. One thing that I really liked about it is that when you look at somebody, you can tell by the way they dress what kind of person they are. Now, there's no rule that's 100% perfect. Just want to be sure of that. No rule that's 100% perfect. But this is a more accurate, or it gives you a little bit better understanding of what people are looking for and how you can help them with their decision making. All right. So, with that being said, I will end my talk. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok. I like to put motivational stuff on there. A lot of it has to do with personal growth or information that's going to be of value. We all know the internet is full of a lot of distractions. I like to keep people focused on making themselves happy, teaching them how to think about what they can do to change their life and take more control of it. So, are there any questions or comments or things you would like to say?
Wow, Bad. That's an awesome presentation. I love it. Especially the bank. I think, it's nice to know to identify who you are, and also help you to identify what kind of person you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a great guide for every individual, especially if you're in sales, right? And also with what in our business too. So it's because we communicate with different people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great idea to have more on to know about the bank.
Oh, so in other words, you should not have only one presentation. You should have 4 different presentations.
Yes, that's correct. You have to, because you have to be flexible. As you just mentioned, you can encounter with a B, you encounter with an A, and an A. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's I did my own. That's I think I can't remember. It's a K and A N B. I think I K.
Mm-hmm. So that means you like knowledge. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so my wife just gave me a note, said, how can they tell who they are talking to, how to tell by looking at them in their home? Well, that was a seminar that I paid a lot of money to go and attend. So that's a 9-hour talk. And what's really cool is they gave you pictures and they said, okay, what type of person is this? If you want some more of that, it'll be at least 3 to 4 hours because you really get into detail on that. Any questions?
Somebody asked here by Dr. Tere, but are these questions that we should be answered? Yeah, I mean, those are the questions you have to answer, and then you will identify what kind of personality you are.
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is let me go back to that screen share here. Again, take a shot at this one because it'll simplify it for you. Okay. The top things that people care about in each one. So you can name, what's more important to you? Reputation of the company? What is it for you? Do you like to help others or do you want to know information? That would be the simplest way to figure out what their main value system is. And then go down the line. A's is just what's in it for me. Do you care about how much money you make? So with a B, you want to talk systems, you want to talk reputation. A, these are the people you talk about making money because they get excited about that. N's, you want to talk about helping others. And K, just give them as much information as they possibly want.
I think Dr. Fernandez has a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bud, for your presentation. It was a very great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Which of this type that really need to be to feel the patch? So listening to what Tito was saying in the first session, I also have that kind of challenge. Shall I patch them freely, or maybe it might be better that I will just like $3 for a patch. Which type do you? I think you understand my question, right?
Okay.
Which
I'm an N, which means I'm very generous. Because I want them to feel it first and get excited, and then they have me ask questions. So I don't focus on anything except, does it work for you? And if it doesn't, I don't even worry about it. I just patched one guy today, and he has all kinds of pains, and it didn't quite work. So I'm going to try again with something else. But I stop it from there. Because to me, if they don't feel the patch, then I'm selling them. If they don't feel anything, then I'm trying to sell them. I don't want to sell them. I want them to be excited about it and see what it does for them. So my story with Tito, I was approached 2 years ago with the patch, turned it down. Tito approached me first day, felt nothing. And it wasn't until the third day or fourth day is when I finally said, oh, I felt a difference. I felt young again. I was literally playing basketball like I was 30 years old. And I'm 68, so I'm quite proud that one of the things that excites me about this is that I deal with a lot of athletes. And with athletes, there's a lot of injuries. So for me to approach people is really easy. You're hurt. Oh, here, try a patch.
Okay, so it's more to what type we are, right?
Yep.
I mean, if we are very generous, then it should be we should be doing patching everyone. But which of those type that is really you can be like with the patch?
What do you
Is
mean?
it a business, the business one, if you patch them, is it worth or?
I think what you mean. I think Bud's saying a while ago that if it doesn't work, you have to pay, but it works free. Is that correct? But
I do it the other way.
you know, if it work, then you have to. I mean, it doesn't work, you have to pay me. But it works, it's free.
See, I would do it backwards. If it works, you can pay me because now you got something. But if it doesn't work, okay. Because I'd rather leave them with a positive feeling. But Tito's a hell of a lot more successful than I am, so I would listen to him than me. Okay, he didn't get to where he was by doing what I did.
By birth,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you feel like, something, because especially in Indonesia, right? It's a lot of money. Giving one.
Yes.
They have to understand it's a business. That's why whenever I talk to somebody, they ask for free. I mean, they ask for sample. I never give sample anymore. I always tell them, one patch doesn't do anything to you. I don't want to prove anything this works because everybody's different. I want you to buy the product for 30 days and you try it. Because I don't know what kind of you have right now, but using it consistently with a month, then you will know if this is something for you or not.
And there's a money guarantee back, right? So
Yes. Yeah. So you have to be confident when you say that.
yeah.
Don't be like, you can try it for 30 days if you want. No, you have to be confident. Remember, you have to be in command, not them.
Now this is where the wants and needs come, right? I want them to experience it consistently, so
Yes.
I want them to.
That's the right word. I want you to buy 30 days because I want you to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
the first session of what the want and the needing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The want though, the want
Thank you, Bud.
The want only pertains to you. I'm going to do it like this way. Everybody's heard of the genie, the Aladdin genie,
Yeah,
the three wishes. Okay? What are the three things that the genie can't do? They can't make somebody fall in love with you.
Oh,
They
yeah.
can't give you more wishes. And they can't bring somebody back from the dead. Okay? So it doesn't matter how much you want those things, they're never going to happen. You can't make somebody want something. You can say, I want to work with you. That's very different. But you can't make them want to buy it. Okay?
Hey, bud.
Because then you're selling. Yeah.
I have some questions. So
Fire away.
first question I have is, are you married? Because 68 years old, you look pretty damn good. So I believe I'm an NKBA like you. So
Uh-huh.
I'm happy what you think about that. But my question is, what profile do you feel does best or is prone to succeed in network marketing?
Ace.
A's.
You just let them go. They don't even want to be told anything. They say, how much money can I make?
Yeah.
And they see it and they go.
And they just go. Yeah.
Action.
Yeah, those are the most.
Not to make money now. Now, show me the money.
Yep. So Irene is an A. So she's somebody you don't have to worry about. She'll just take it and go.
Well, I do love taking action, so maybe I need to change the way. Maybe I'm not an NKPA.
Yeah, did you? Okay, you owe me $1. Remember, you don't need to change. You gotta want to change.
Yes.
By the way, Steve raised his hand. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody ever wants to get in touch with me,
Steve,
happy to talk.
Steve wants to say something.
Sure.
Steve, unmute yourself. You're muted, Steve. Steve raised his hand, but
There we go.
There you
Thank you. I had to swipe right. I'm hearing these things and having had a lot of training in my job the last 3 months, well, over the years, but only understood it the last 3 months. I think you earlier said you need like 4 different approaches, I guess.
Correct.
And I have to work on, I had to work off scripts. And it always bugged me that we had to work on a script to a person that didn't apply to. You know, this is perfect examples here.
Right.
So what I see is if we have a choice, we either let a person go because we're not going to work with this situation, those letters, or we have to change our letter to match their letter, or meet somewhere in the middle.
Correct.
Is that about right?
If you want to sell them, you want to meet their values.
Exactly. You got to get in their headspace and their world.
Yeah. You're not, I'll give an example. I used to have a girlfriend, and it was really funny because she got me through all this personal growth stuff. And she always wondered, like, why do people like you so much? I said, because I give them what they want. And she goes, how come I can't do that? I said, well, let me give you an example. When you meet somebody, you don't say, hey, what do you like to do? Can I do it with you? So if she met somebody, she'd say, hey, what do you like to do? Well, I like to play baseball. You to go, I don't like baseball. I like hockey. Why don't you be my friend? I said, they don't like hockey. That's why they don't want to be with you. So it's that kind of understanding that people want to attract people they want to be with. And it's up to you if you want to be with them. And so you have to do what they like. That's why in Dale Carnegie, you listen more and talk less, because the more you listen, the more they feel they are heard.
yeah, that's right.
So I could go on and on, but I know we have a time limit. If any of you want to get in touch with me.
One more question.
Yep.
From Chris. This is the last question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the info. I just have some quick questions because you're a dancer, right?
Yes.
And you train. I just wanted to ask, what patches do you use when you do the dancing, and then do you also recommend it to your dance partner?
Say that again.
What patches do you use when you do your dancing? So that I want to make sure that I use it when I do my dancing. But yeah, do you also recommend it to your dance partners?
X39.
That's it?
Yeah.
No EE?
No, because X39 is what gives you the energy, and also that there's no soreness. What I love about the X39 is I don't have any soreness in my body. Here, let me just show you really quick, okay? Because some of you people were really interested in this. Let me do this really quick, and I'll jump. Where's my share page? I lost you.
Okay. But anyway, before
Yeah.
you say that, but let me
Go ahead.
tell everyone, please concentrate on X39. I know we have a lot of patches. Don't make it complicated. The X39 does everything, but they have to use it consistently. It's not because we're used to like instant gratification, like the old ways, like you patch ice wave, the pain goes away. We're used to that. But remember, we have a new product. We call it X39. That's why the company grows so fast, because of X39. Concentrate on X39 because it does help. As long you tell the right way to understand and expectation. Remove the expectation of like, like I can hear it right now. I can make it happen right now. Remove that kind of attitude.
And instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. Because that's what we learned, right? Because we learned X39 before. But now with the X39, it repairs and heals. But they have to use it consistently.
So we don't have to do the demo like a magician anymore, right?
No more. No, no need. No need. Because